Today we're going to dive into a really powerful story from the Quran. It's about the rise and, well, the catastrophic fall of the people of Thamud, a civilization of master builders whose greatest creation ended up becoming their own tomb.
So, I want you to picture this. A valley, carved with these absolutely magnificent homes, totally silent in that stillness right before dawn. The air is calm, the sky is clear. It's just this moment of perfect peace in a kingdom that truly believed it was invincible.
But then, in an instant, that silence is just broken. And not by the wind, not by an earthquake, but by a single, agonizing scream that comes from the heavens. A sound so terrible, it just ends an entire civilization right where they stand. So what happened here? Well, to understand the end, we've got to go all the way back to the beginning. So who exactly were these people? You see, the story of Thamud doesn't start with some massive empire. It actually begins with just a handful of survivors who were given a second chance. See, after a previous arrogant civilization was destroyed, a few faithful believers were spared. They found this beautiful, fertile valley called Al-Hijr, and they were given every blessing you can imagine to start over. Incredible strength, brilliant minds, and an artistic skill that the world had honestly never seen before. Their whole story started from a place of huge gratitude.
And wow, did they use those gifts. They did the impossible. I mean, they didn't just build homes. They literally carved entire cities into the faces of mountains. But with every perfectly shaped pillar, their focus started to shift, away from the giver of their gifts and onto the gifts themselves. Their pride just swelled up and their boast became their whole identity. We are the people who master mountains. We are unmatched.
And this is where the story takes a dark turn. They completely forgot their strength was a blessing. That initial gratitude was totally replaced by this deep-seated arrogance. They started to believe that their own hands, not God, were the source of their greatness. And before long, they were carving idols into those same mountains, worshiping their own creations instead of their creation. So as their society was getting consumed by injustice and idol worship, a messenger was sent from among their own people, a man they all knew for his wisdom and integrity, the Prophet Saleh.
Saleh's message was so simple, so pure. He just said, remember God, be grateful for all these blessings. But the leaders, they were comfortable in their power. They just couldn't hear it. They didn't see his call as guidance. They saw it as an attack on their traditions. They mocked him, saying things like, Saleh, you were one of us. Why are you turning against the ways of our ancestors? And then they issued a challenge. If you're really a prophet, then stop talking and show us a sign we can't deny.
They wanted a sign. Well, be careful what you wish for. They were about to get a sign so miraculous, so impossible, that there would be absolutely no way to deny it. Their challenge was about to be answered in the most spectacular way imaginable.
So the leaders, they point to this massive, solid rock, and they demand that a living she-camel emerge from it. Prophet Saleh prayed, and the whole valley just fell silent. And then the rock starts to tremble. A light shines from within it, and it splits apart. And out walks this magnificent, living she-camel. Now, this wasn't some kind of trick. This was a direct, divine answer to their challenge, right then and there.
The Quran gives her a very special name, Naqatullah, which means the she-camel of Allah. And that name is so important because it signifies she was way more than just an animal. She was a sacred symbol, a living, breathing test of their humility and their obedience. Literally, their entire survival now depended on how they treated her.
Okay, so the test came with some simple rules for sharing the town's well. On one day, the she-camel would get to drink alone, but in return, she would miraculously produce enough milk to feed the entire population, every single person. Then, on the next day, the well belonged completely to the people and their animals. It was a perfectly fair deal, a daily reminder of this divine blessing and a test of their willingness to just share.
But for a people just consumed by pride, sharing power, even with a sign from God, was just unbearable. This test of humility was one they were absolutely determined to fail. The leaders saw how amazed the people were. They saw some of them starting to believe. And that's when fear and jealousy took over. They didn't see the she-camel as a blessing. They saw her as a threat to their authority. Their logic was cold and it was simple. If the camel lives, Saleh's influence grows, and our power fades. The sign had to be destroyed. And so, a group of them ambushed the sacred animal. They attacked her, and with one final, brutal blow, they killed the she-camel of Allah.
When Prophet Saleh saw what they had done, his face just filled with sorrow. And he delivered this chilling, final ultimatum. You have crossed the line. Enjoy what is left of your lives in your homes. You have only 3 days.
The countdown had begun. The people of Thamud, feeling all safe and secure in their mountain fortresses, they just scoffed at the warning. But very soon, the signs of their doom became terrifyingly real.
On the first day, this strange fear crept in when they all saw their faces had turned a sickly yellow. On the second day, the air grew oppressively hot, and their faces turned a feverish red. And by the third day, terror had completely set in. Their faces turned dark, almost black, and the very scent of death hung heavy in the air. Their magnificent valley had become a tomb just waiting for them.
And then, in those final moments, right before dawn on the 4th day, it came. That single, horrific scream from the sky. It was a sound wave so powerful it literally ruptured their hearts and extinguished their souls instantly. They were found dead, silent, inside their magnificent homes, a powerful civilization, wiped out not by an army, but by a sound.
The ruins of their homes, which are still visible today, serve as this stark reminder of their fate. The people of Thamud could master mountains, but they couldn't master their own pride. And their story leaves all of us with a timeless question. What truly guarantees survival? Is it the power a civilization can build, or is it the principles it chooses to believe in?